Hello and welcome to the Growing Healthy Families podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Scott Haggerty. On this show, I interview the world's top health experts so that you can know with certainty what it takes to give your family a life of epic health and wellness.
As parents, we don't want to see our kids struggle. I knew that he had the potential, and I knew that something needed to be done.
It was hard. We would get frustrated. We didn't know how to deal with it. I was more emotional about it.
Sure that, we're here. Amen to that, brother. Amen to that. Hello, moms and dads, and welcome to the Growing Healthy Families podcast. So, moms and dads, as you've learned a little bit more about our show, one of the big things that we love to celebrate here is success. And so today I am super excited to have on my friend Paul. Thank you for being here, Paul.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Because he is an amazing success story. And dude, I am so excited that you're here. Like, I've been waiting to do this, and moms and dads, like, no joke. Like, I'm beyond stoked for you to hear Paul's story, because I love stories of transformation. I love stories of people having like quality of life improvements. And so today, moms and dads, sit tight, enjoy, because Paul's story is one that I listen to it and it touches me to my core, which is why we wanted to have him on here today. So Paul, my friend, so great to have you here.
Thank you. Look, very happy to be here.
Oh, it is completely our pleasure. So, obviously, for the moms and dads that are watching here, they love to go and hear stories about success and about struggles and the transformations that we've seen. And so, we've obviously got to know each other over the course of the last several months, and I've heard a lot of your stories. But, why don't you tell the moms and dads that are listening a little bit of your backstory about, where life was at before we met each other?
Sure. Well, right before we met, my wife and I were given a diagnosis of autism for our son. At the time, he was about a little bit over 3 years old. And, we knew that something was different about him. He was nonetheless wonderful and a joy to have as a son, and still is. But we could just tell he was going along a different trajectory than a lot of children. So we got him diagnosed, moderate to severe autism. And I personally was going through a lot of turmoil mentally, emotionally, physically too. My health was plummeting, and it had been doing so for quite some time. And we'd heard about a symposium that you were putting on in Brecksville, and thought it would be a good idea to go see what you had to say, and loved everything you had to say. I think I connected with you and your wife there, and we were in the same realm in terms of how we view health and how it should be addressed. And I just felt really confident that this place would be good for him. But he is, as I said, a unique child, so I wanted him to not go into this without knowing what it is and what he would be doing. So I decided to try it myself. So ever since I was about late 20s, my life had slowly been plummeting. I couldn't shut my brain off. Sleep was hard. I was very tough on myself. I had a lot of anxiety, a lot of self-doubt. I was abusive to myself in a lot of ways. And it started out when I was young, but it started out in more playful ways. And people would say, you'll grow out of it. It'll, as you get older, it'll leave you. Everything will be fine. That's just how you grow. And there came a point in my life when I realized that I wasn't ever going to get out of it. So when I found you, I was basically at the end. I had addressed things with my wife and knew that my life was going to be done, just because I couldn't deal with this stuff anymore. And for some reason, I decided to do this myself for him, and knowing that if it was a success, then my life would be different. And if it wasn't, well, whatever would have happened. And so I think it was August, September, I think, I came in for consultation. And in the roughly 9 months since then, I have never experienced a life like this. mentally, I feel brand new. I feel reborn. My brain is not shut off, but I control it. I still feel as vigorous and invigorated as I did as a young man. I'm in my early 40s now, but I feel in control. I feel happy 99.9% of the time. And those times when I don't, where in the older days, it would send me down a rabbit hole that would take a very long time to climb out of. And I really wouldn't climb out of it. I would just get to a point somewhere in that hole where I can operate. Things are easy to manage now. My health has exponentially improved. I've lost about 45 pounds.
It's amazing.
And added a lot more muscle, and I'm still in the process of losing weight and getting more fit. And once that's complete, I guess the lifelong health will continue of maintenance and working out and just being active mentally, physically, with my family, with myself. It's literally been a 180-degree turn from when I first met you. So I thank you.
My brother, it has completely been our pleasure because, I think anybody that's listening right now realizes, and many probably can relate to what your struggles are. I know we've talked on a number of occasions that I've been in down a similar journey with stress and the anxiety and things like that. But a lot of people think that there's not really a lot of options and there's not a lot of ways to help them when they go down this road. So I'd like to step you back, because when we met and we got together and we came in and did the consult, we talked about some of the things that you're hoping to accomplish. A lot of the pieces and parts that happen in between, you told me a lot of different stories about changes that you started to experience, right? And nothing's overnight. Like it's not like a one adjustment and one day, 1 week, and everything changes. But I remember a lot of little stories that you would come in and tell me. So, for the viewers who are listening to this or watching this, why don't you kind of walk them back a little bit? So, we go through, we did the exam, we did the history, we talked about some recommendations for care, and then you began the process.
Right.
So, why don't you talk about a little bit of some of the beginning stages? Like, what were some of the things that you first started to recognize something is different?
So right away, and you had told me, I remember when we had our first readjustment, you said drink a lot of water. Mm-hmm. And I usually do. I drink an obscene amount of water. But after the readjustment, I realized I need to drink even more than that. Mm-hmm. Just because your body's going through all of these changes and it's a shock to the system. Mm-hmm. So I heated that, with drinking water, and you could feel like basically you're an empty glass, and as you drink, you feel like you're filling up, you feel better. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay. And I felt pretty good. And then I had the second one, and just things felt better. That's the only way I could describe it at the time. Mm-hmm. And then I remember I was at work. I was in my office. Mm-hmm. Because it was 2 or 3 days after we'd started. Mm-hmm. And I was talking with a friend of mine, and it was like someone turned on the light switch, and I felt absolutely wonderful. And it wasn't a slow accretion. It wasn't, I feel a little better than yesterday, a little better than the day before. It was instantaneous. I went from feeling like better, still bad, but better. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden it was someone turned the lights on, and someone turned my vision into high def. Everything was clear. You could see, the veins on a bird wing, in a sense. Yeah. It was like those things that you didn't notice before, mm-hmm. all of a sudden became front and center and so salient. Mm-hmm. And there was an inner confidence that I had never had before. Now this is literally like that. And I kept telling her, I'm like, can't explain this to you. I feel amazing. I feel utterly amazing. And from that point, it only got better. You know, after a couple weeks, after a couple months, you know, I have issues present themselves to me that would cause me dire anxiety, you know, and take a fairly good day for my family, my wife and kids and friends, and turn it into, you know, the apocalypse, because I couldn't deal with things. I could not work through tough issues. But from that moment when someone turned the high def on for me, that wasn't instantaneous in terms of dealing well with, you know, bad moments, you know, tempering your anxiety. But it got better, little by little by little, until you realize one day that everything is going well, even when things aren't. You have this mindset that things are going well, and they're progressing in a sense and in a manner that will befit you, your best life, and all of those around you that you love. And I couldn't rationalize that before. And it was slowly that kind of analytical thinking, that the cognitive sense was slow to come, but when it came, it was full bore. But the physical feeling of excitation was just in this moment's notice, and you felt like you could do anything in the world, and you could handle anything in the world. I mean, it was transformative and awe-inspiring, to say the least.
That's tremendous. You know, I remember there was a story that you told me one time about there was a particular day when you came in for an adjustment, and you were telling me that the day had been one of those days where in the past it would have knocked you down. And you came in, and the look of joy on your face on the way that you handled it said so much to me about where you were at that point in time. Do you remember that conversation?
We've had many like those, but yeah.
It was early on. It was like the first maybe 2.5 months.
You know, everybody has pressure at work.
Yeah.
Everybody works in high pressure situations. Some more so than others, but everybody has a level of pressure. And the modest level of pressure that I felt, professionally, personally, whatever, would riddle me in a coma. I couldn't move from it. And in the early days, I remember at work, that's a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's to focus on work is easier, because at home, I have 2 little kids. They're going to be 7 and 4. I mean, every day is a cooker in a sense, but it's a joyous cooker. But at work, you know, that's where the pressure happens, because you know, you're performing a service. And before, it would be really bad for me to deal with pressure and anxiety at work. And in those early days, it really struck me. I wasn't perfect with it. I wasn't, you know, apathetic or ambivalent. But things would happen. You know, I would have a lot of, you know, issues or questions or whatever from myself, and then from the people with whom I work, and you know, I have questions for them, and it's just really high paced and such. And I remember feeling within like a month, I think, of starting, that I noticed things weren't causing me to be a zombie. That I was engaged in dynamic conversation with people at work, and I was, you know, getting answers, and I was working through things, and I was helping people, and I wasn't, you know, being, because I can tell you, I mean, a lot of people dealt with me in really bad times and had a hard time sticking by me. Some didn't, you know, and that's fine. But those people that did really are getting to see how powerful they are to help me. And be it family, be it friends, you know, friends at work, you know, and friends period. You know, it was again slow, but it happened. And there's just those little moments where things happen in a professional setting that would set you into, you know, the ground. And you know that the situations this isn't changing. it's not a mirror image of what happened before, but it's the same context and the same pressures. But what's changing is me, and I'm slowing it down, and I'm letting myself think and speak, and I'm allowing other people their thoughts to enter me, and I'm like vetting them and understanding what they're saying, and that for me was another transformative moment, because now we're at a point where there is very little that gets me anywhere near where I was before. I don't get anywhere near that bad at all. And I have to tell you that, do I get anxious? Yeah. Do I get a little panicky? Sure. But I deal with it, and I think clearly through it, and I have the tools now, thanks to our work together and your wonderful artistry. I have the tools now to move forward in a productive way, in a positive way, to an end that I only thought mythical before.
That's tremendous. It's so, there's so many powerful things in what you said, and I want to just give the moms and dads a little bit of an understanding as to what's happened, because if you're sitting here thinking, how did this all evolve? We have this conversation a lot about the concept of the difference between learned behaviors and reflex behaviors, right? And a lot of times as we get older, right, if we have stress and anxiety, it tends to evolve, and it becomes something where it becomes so intrinsic in the way that our brains are wired that we become defensive, we become anxious, because our brain has gotten really, really good at using that circuitry, kind of like a program on our computers. And so what you're describing is your brain is literally creating a brand new operating system, meaning that instead of stress being the first response, the reflex, the brain is now in a place where it's changing, so it's rewiring how it sees the world. We call it perception, right? The great quote by Dr. Bruce Lipton: the function of the nervous system is to perceive the environment and then coordinate the behavior of all other cells. What that literally means is that the brain's job is see what's going on, make decisions about how to respond. When we live as adults or kids in stress mode, we don't have room or slack to see or hear or perceive things oftentimes accurately. Because if we live on stress mode, we live on defense mode. And so defense mode translates into being anxious, can translate into being anger, but it can also translate into depression. It can also translate into this pattern of self-loathing that many of us as adults struggle with, right? And we do it oftentimes silently, and we don't share it and tell it to other people, but it's something that's a part of many of our struggles on a daily basis. Very hard on ourselves and difficult to get out of those cycles, isn't it?
Very hard.
Yeah. And so moms and dads, and one of the reasons why I thought this was such a powerful conversation is because, we've talked about work, and work is an important component to this, but you led with the most important component, the part outside of work. And so Paul, why don't you tell the moms and dads about how things have changed in home, because that's where it really matters most.
So, like I said, I had 2 children. My oldest is a daughter, and she's 7, and my little boy is going to be 4. Actually, she turns 7 on the 6th, and he turns 4 on the 9th. And I think, for me, another component of this was going into our time together is I didn't understand. There came a point where I was thrilled to be with my children, as I always was, and as I still am. But for some reason, them alone couldn't get me out of the hole. And in a sense, I backtracked from them because I didn't want them to see me that way. And so since we've started, things have again turned around. If my life has turned around 180 degrees as a whole, then microcosmically, my life as a husband and a father has as well, or they have as well. I do more with my children. We go out more, we play more. I interact with them as I did when they were little, and I could kind of control it. But it didn't last long. I mean, Hawken has not known me like he should have known me, like he knows me now. My wife has been through a lot with me, and it's better for her. I hope. I can't speak, for her, but I feel like I'm a better human in the house. I'm a better human in the family. I feel like my interpersonal relationships are much better. My mother watches our children, so I get to see her a lot. And she's kind of seen me from the beginning, and she exclaimed the other day that in our life together as mother and son, that she has never seen me this good. That she has never seen any moment in my life where it can even touch how I am right now. And my friends, I mean, I can't speak for them, but I feel like our relationships are tighter, are more open, more vibrant. But for me, it always comes back to the kids, and whether or not I want to admit it, I didn't do it for them exclusively. I mean, I did it for me, but ultimately I did it for me because I can't be without them. And I never will be without them now, thankfully, and they'll never be without me. My son is a genius. He's a wonderful little boy. And my daughter is an amazing, amazing person. And for them to have me like they have me now means so much. And that's one in an infinite amount of reasons why I wake up every day thanking you, thanking the staff, and thanking that man to get to the point I am now, because ultimately that person that went through all that hell is one of the strongest people I will ever know, because for some reason when the end was at his feet, he had enough resilience to say, I need to fight on. I need to fight on. And he did. And because of that, I'm here now. And I think that we have to remember that when we think we can't do it, or we think it's too much for us, it never is. It never is. You just have to, one more step. It's an old proverbial one more step where it seems ambiguous and, airy, an airy nothingness, I suppose, but it is real. Just take one more step. My family now has me as they should, and my friends have me as they should. And those people that stuck with me, like I said, there weren't many, but those that have stuck with me, I can't tell you how powerful their presence in my life and in this world is. Because you can just see everything so much more clear. It's just wonderful. Just wonderful.
Kudos to you, my friend. And moms and dads, I really want to, I want you to understand the magnitude of what this man has done. Because we've had the privilege of sitting here and watch this, and you've given credit to us, and I appreciate that, but the credit is very much onto you, because one of the big things that you did is you made decisions. You took things back. You said, I'm going to take action. And then you did the most important things. You showed up. And I'm not just talking about here, right? And consistency never was an issue. Like, you've been amazing at doing your part and being here and doing the hard work. But you had other goals. You had other things that you wanted to accomplish to help you to become the man that you are becoming, right? And it's taking ownership of all of those other aspects of life. And I see your Instagram pictures of you, doing your workouts and and all the things that you've done, right? And it's impressive, because there's so many people that sit and watch or listen to the podcast, or are at home. They want to do what you're doing, but oftentimes don't think they can. And I think it's inspirational, and I've told you this, I think your story is a phenomenal story. I think that you have the ability with what you've gone through to really inspire a lot of people, which is why I wanted to start this here. Because in all reality, moms and dads, Paul's struggle is not too dissimilar from what many of us struggle with, right? And I wanted you to see this today because I wanted you to feel inspired to know that no matter where you're at, that there are ways to get your life back. And it starts with taking that first step, right?
Right.
And then once you start taking that first step, it's one, and then another, and then another. And you know what happens when you have enough steps? Momentum. Because once you build momentum, then it's really hard to stop it. Because what you started to talk about and what you've started to see over time is success, right? And it feels good, doesn't it?
Oh, it feels immaculate.
Right?
Yeah, it's wonderful. I did not imagine this. I did not imagine this much success in every phase of my life. And I realize it's all about, the motive factor, what you do to help yourself. Mm-hmm. But it's also about support system. I mean, It's also about people that are, family and friends. And I mean, I consider all you guys my friends. And, you've been through with me, what you've been through with me, and what we've talked about, is great and grand. And I really cannot underscore. And I don't want to talk about the bad stuff so much, but it's imperative that that I underscore that it was enough for me before I saw you. And you get to that point and you don't see any hope, you don't see any acceleration, you don't see anything, and you're moving forward. But again, for some reason, for some wonderful reason, I did it. And whether it was for Hawking alone or, whatever the case was, I did it for all that. But it was still done in a time where I wasn't willing to do anything. And because of that, I'm here now. 45 pounds lighter and getting lighter, getting more fit, getting, more building muscle, burning fat, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. Getting rid of all those things that don't have any place anymore, never did, that didn't deserve dominion in my life. And now they aren't there, and the stress and the bad times never leave us. And I've been through some tough times while we've been together. Mm-hmm. But it's the tools now that I have help to show me that the bad times, to quote Charles Dickens in a sense, it was the best of times. Worst of times, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. The worst of times can sometimes be our best moments, because we really see how powerful and how strong and how compassionate and how kind we can be to ourselves and everybody outside of us and the world in general. I am thankful every moment that I'm still here, because I get to do what I'm doing. And it's not world changing. It's not, I'm like everybody else. We do the best we can for ourselves and those we love and the world at large. But I'm so thankful that I'm able to make that contribution with a full and clear mind and a full and clear body and a full and clear heart. Because I never imagined that before. Ever imagined that. Ever. Sorry.
I've said this a million times, and I'll continue to tell you this. Your story is one that I know is one that needs to be told a lot more. And so hopefully today is the start of you getting out to tell your story, because I think a lot of moms and dads need to hear your story and be inspired by you. So I hope that this is just the beginning for you, my friend.
I hope it is too. I'll be more than happy to share with anybody who will listen, even for those who won't, because it might make a difference. It might change their life. Yep. I didn't have that person before, but I just had myself, and I had you, and I had people who loved me. And I thank everybody for everything that you're doing, because it's really appreciated.
Completely our pleasure, and we're so glad to have been a part of this journey with you, and to see you working your way through the struggles to success that you've seen. So, looking back, because I'm sure there's a lot of moms and dads that are sitting here that are like, I wonder if this is something that could help me. So if you were sitting there and you were having a conversation with you from 8 months ago, or another mom and dad that's sitting there that's having the same struggles, and they're trying to decide what to do to help themselves, what would you tell them?
Wow. I would say that if you feel like a lost cause, that's only because there's a point in this world where you're found. You can't be lost unless you are found somewhere. So if you feel hopeless, it's because you know what hopeful feels like. And you can't know hopeless without being hopeful. So if you can experience hope and you can experience discovery, and you're in this place of wandering and loss and hopelessness, just know that one more step is all it takes. Just keep moving, keep trying, even if it doesn't feel like it is a monumental shift, monumental change. If you just keep trying, it'll happen. You'll get there. I have heard it a million times before in different concentrations where just keep trying, look where I am. And it was always in terms of like financial success or, success in a profession and this and that. But to honestly put it in perspective, like this is the only thing that matters is the life we lead and those we love. And I'm telling you, use me as an example. I was done. I was literally done. And I just took one more little step. Feels giant now to help Hawken, help my child. And who would have thought that I would have been completely turned around? And he's doing great too. We're going to start him here. We had some other things we wanted to, services he needed first, and he's doing beautifully. He's communicating. He's doing wonderfully.
That's awesome.
He needs help, but he's thriving and I'm thriving. And I would just say, keep going, keep walking, just one more step. You don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know where it's going to happen. But I can tell you unequivocally that it will happen. I'm living proof. And I know that sounds like a platitude, but I am living proof that your life can turn around 180 degrees. And where you saw darkness, you will still see darkness, but you will always know the light is there. It has been an unbelievable transformation for me and for my family, friends, everyone I love. It is a joy to be alive for me now. Where, 9 months ago, it would have been a joy to not be alive anymore. And for some reason, like I said, I took that one step. And I'm here with you now. It sounds outrageous, it sounds ridiculous to some, but it may be, but it's ridiculous because it's true. Things like this don't happen all the time. People think, but they do happen if you just keep trying and keep working and let people in and let people help you and let yourself be helped by you helping you. It is entirely worth it. The struggles, the work that I'm doing, it's all worth it to be here with you now.
I don't think there's anything else that we can say at this point. That was phenomenal, my friend. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you, brother.
So, moms and dads, if you have a dry eye, I don't know how. What an inspiration. And I thank you so much for being here with us and sharing your story and taking the time to let other people in and be vulnerable here. Because, for many of you that are going to watch this, I know that many of you know what it's like to struggle like this. And I hope that as a result of Paul's story that you feel inspired. I hope that you have action steps, things that you know now that will help you, right? Take ownership, get adjusted, get involved with owning your health, take steps in the right direction, take action. Because moms and dads, no matter where you are, there are things that you can do to improve your quality of life starting today, no matter where you're at. We're here to help. So if you're watching this and need someone to help you, contact us. That's what we're here for. EliteFamilyKairos.com. You can message us right through iTunes or Stitcher, wherever you're watching this. You can go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/either Elite Family Kairos for our practice page or Growing Healthy Families. We're here to help. So, and we'd love to get you connected with people that can help you to get you or someone in your family to the life that they deserve. Again, Paul, thank you so much for being here. God bless you, my friend.
Thank you.
So, moms and dads, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review us. Let us know what you thought of this episode. So, and God bless you all. Be elite. Thank you for listening to the Growing Healthy Families podcast, the world's #1 source for health education. Make sure to go to iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts and give us a review. Make sure to follow us on social media at the links listed in the show notes, and let us know what area of health you are struggling with, so we can get you and your family on the road to epic health.